From the udder, straight from the udder, yeah, straight from the udder, straight from the udder, let us go! Hey, welcome back to Straight from the Udder. Today it's just me and Log. Mullet Man was, of course, unfortunately able to make today's episode. He had a wrestling meet, and he's coaching wrestling, and kind of forgot about it, to be honest. It was last night that he figured it out.
And he wasn't going to tell us.
Yeah, because I think he forgot that we were recording
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So, and we kind of just need to get this episode in. But yeah, how's your week going? I know you started college. I started college this week.
Yeah, it's been a real change of pace, I guess is the only way to put it, from not doing anything to
Doing everything.
yeah. Online for the first 3 weeks, so that kind of blows. But
And then how many classes will be in person then?
1.5.
1.5. Solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'll start off because I've kind of two funny stories from this past year. The one from Wednesday.
We'll start earlier. We'll go Monday.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so it was me and BDM working in the morning with our manager. And it started off fine. We were still on the list, and then there's a thing on the list where we had to take the light covers off.
Okay, yeah.
So
Done that
BDM was doing the light covers. He does about the first like 4 of them right, like nothing wrong. He gets to the 5th one, he cracks.
Oh no.
And then she's just like, okay, we'll put that in the back and we'll release it. So then the last one up front, he does fine. Then he goes to the back. He shatters the next one. So she's like, well, we can't really use that anymore, but we still have one in the back. So then he cracks the last one in the back. So now we have 2 lights. We have 1 light uncovered, and then 2 lights with cracks in them. And then we saw there might have been a 4th light that he cracked, but we're not sure if that was from him or not.
I mean, I've done them before. They're not easy to take off.
Watching him was a struggle, dude.
Yeah.
And then the next thing was we have a portable fan in like the front of our store.
Right.
And originally there was a 3rd coworker there and he was going to dust it, but I was like, you know what, I'll dust it. I do the top half. Everything's fine. I get to the bottom half. I must have just put it in a little bit too much. The whole fan just broke.
Oh, jeez.
I've never seen my manager, like, she was just so disgusted. She's like, I've lost a couple light covers. I've now lost my portable fan.
I'm sure she was pissed. Oh, that's hilarious.
So then Wednesday, me and BDM were working again in the morning. We're like, you know what? We brought a screwdriver. Let's open up it. And Coco was working, so all 3 of us were kind of working on it. More BDM and Coco for the most part. And they tried these like ties, to replace the fans that got broke. So it starts off and it's like slow. It's like too slow that it's not even making air. So then they take out the ties and there's like a side covering like to make sure it doesn't go wild.
Yeah.
So they remove that, thinking, you know what, that's what's making that weird noise. So then the fans just start going wild and some of them start breaking. And then our manager's like, well, that's why we got a credit card. I can just run over to Home Depot and buy a new one.
She didn't get a new one yet, though, did she?
No, not yet. Probably starting next week she will.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really need it yet.
No, it's still the winter. Even though it do be hot in there, though.
Oh, I know. She cranks the thermostat up to like 80. I mean, they're dying.
Well, I just love it because I'm like one of the few people that starts off without a sweatshirt because I'm used to the cold.
Yeah.
And everyone else comes in wearing sweatshirts, and then like an hour or less into the shift, they're like, I need to take my sweatshirt off.
I'm one of those people. But like, I'm comfortable in a sweatshirt. I just want to wear it. And then I just get smoked out.
Or you have other people that will wear it the whole shift, but just complain about how hot it is with the sweatshirt. I'm just like, just go take it off.
It takes 2 seconds.
And then my story from Wednesday. It's a short one, but it's still kind of funny. So this guy comes in, and he orders a sundae for himself, and then he orders a vanilla shake. and he takes it out to his wife because the vanilla shake was for his wife. And then, like, a minute later, he comes back in and is complaining to Coco that there's chocolate in his vanilla shake. So then he proceeds because he wants something else because the vanilla shake is tainted and cannot be eaten
Obviously,
anymore.
obviously.
So he gets a sundae with chocolate ice cream and chocolate syrup.
Dude, what?
So
He's complaining about the chocolate and it's all chocolate.
So I was just like, what are you doing, sir? And my manager just like rolled her eyes at him as he was leaving the building.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, basically. And any funny stories from the past week for you, Log?
Well, a couple Wednesdays ago, this guy, I was on register, and this guy, he was from somewhere. It sounded like Eastern European in his accent. I don't know. But he gets his order. It was a little hard to understand, but I got it. And then as I'm ringing it up with his credit card, he gets on the phone and he starts screaming at this person in the phone in another language. It was like, I don't know if it was Russian or whatever they speak. Like, I don't know if it was Russian or whatever they speak in like Bosnia, but it sounded crazy. And then I asked him after I was done with his credit card. I was like, "Do you want a receipt?" And then in a real calm tone, he just goes, "No, no, no." And I'm like, and then after that, he walks to the floor counter and he's back on the phone screaming at this guy again. It was crazy.
And it's not like he's the only one in the store either. There were like a few other
Yeah,
customers in the
yeah.
store.
He was absurd. And then I think he came back to like change his order.
Yeah,
And
he ended up changing something.
yeah, I guess we got him the right thing.
Yeah, I ended up.
But he was just yelling at this guy. It was crazy.
Or lady, we can't be sexist here. We
Oh,
don't know what it is.
true. I mean, yeah. He could be the type of guy that like verbally abuses women. I could see it.
Probably. And then anything else?
Well, we had this one lady. She was crazy with her little kids.
Oh,
Same night.
Dude, the little kid.
They were like little terrors.
Little kids are funny sometimes, but when they are allowed to run over adults and stuff like that with no supervision, they might be the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah. It was bad parenting for sure, but she was like trying to order these things and she just kept calling everything a smoothie.
Yeah, she was like trying to order shakes and she's like, "I'll take a vanilla smoothie, a chocolate smoothie."
And I was so confused. So then I guess we finally got it to where we wanted it, right?
Yeah.
But then we ended up giving her the wrong thing.
Yeah,
somehow.
so then she ordered something specific, like by the name, and we normally make it as a sundae.
Right.
So I bring it out to her, and she's like, "What's this?" She's like, "I want it in a smoothie form." And I'm like, I was like, "Do you mean in a shake?" She's like, "Oh yeah, shake's fine."
Meanwhile, her kids are just running back and forth across the store.
But it reminds me because she's in a lot. Like that lady's in a lot, but not always with her kids. But the one time I was there for the manager, and she'd done this like she basically says gets the sundae every time by accident and then wants the shake.
Right.
And it was probably about like 3 or 4 times in a row I was there with our manager. And our manager was like, "Finally, I've had enough." And she's like, "You're gonna have to pay for that because you've done this every single time." And then our manager and her got in a huge fight. And then for a while she's ordering the correct thing.
Yeah.
And now I guess she's back to calling everything smoothies and not
trying to finesse the younger employees. But like she didn't really complain about it. She just took it.
I mean, yeah, it's not like she wasn't like, "Give me my money back" or anything like that. It's just like I don't know if it's finesse. She just might not understand. I don't know.
Yeah, she did seem very confused.
But that brings me into stories about other stories with our manager. I've been there stories with our manager. I've been there about 2 other times that she's been in fights / got like kind of bitched out by customers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the less tamer one first. It was a time. It was me, one of our quieter, like more shy coworkers, and then Wendy. And then so our shy coworker like serve her the drink, and then she comes back in and talks to our shy coworker.
Mm-hmm.
She wants a free refill, which clearly on our board says no free refills.
Right. And there are soda machines behind the counter too.
Yeah.
So.
And our coworkers just like starts getting in. I was like, "What's happening?" she wants a free refill, and I was like, uh, we don't do free
Yeah,
refill.
right.
So then I tried talking to her, and she was just screaming at me while I was just like, you can clearly look up on the board, ma'am, that says no free refills. And she's like, you're being rude to me. I'm your manager. So then my manager and her just start getting in a yelling match about, and she was basically saying the same thing that I
Right.
was.
Right.
Our manager eventually, after like 5 minutes of yelling, just gives her the free refill because, I mean,
What are
that
you gonna
probably
do at
cost
that
us like
point?
1 penny, and she's just like, I want her out of my
Yeah,
life.
it's like just get out of here, please.
And then the second time, this was basic. I think this is my first year working, probably, but it was my manager and me, and this young lady comes in with her boyfriend, like probably like early 20s, and she orders so she wants a chocolate shake made with chocolate ice cream, and we have like this really dark fudge that we put in, but she doesn't want it too chocolatey.
Right.
So she only wants just a tiny bit of our dark fudge, but our chocolate ice cream's already
Pretty
pretty
chocolatey.
chocolatey.
I mean, it's chocolate ice cream. What do you
Yeah.
expect? Right.
So I make it for her, and I like pumps and kind of. So I did like an eighth of a pump, which is like the tiniest amount of dark fudge you can put in there.
Right.
And she complains to me. She's like, it's too chocolatey. I was like, I'll remake it for her. But my manager steps in. She's like, what's the problem? She's like, it's too chocolatey. She's like, well, I mean, our chocolate. And she's like, and then the lady starts yelling at her. She's like, this man right here is helping me. You're not helping me. So you can just step. And then our manager was like, well, I'm the manager. And then the boyfriend looked like he's about to ready to start fighting.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if they would have fought, I got my money on our
I got our
manager.
money on our
She's
man.
scrappy.
But
Yeah.
so then she just stepped back, and I've remade the shake, but I didn't put any of the dark fudge. I just made it with chocolate
Yeah.
ice
I
cream.
mean, what can you even do?
And she said it was still a little bit too chocolatey. But I was like, well, you want chocolate ice cream, and I actually didn't put any fudge in there. She's like, well, I actually didn't put any fudge in there. She's like, well, I guess this will have to do for today.
Uh,
Lord, but yeah. And then let's see. I'm trying to think of any funny times at the store. Oh, I have one. Do you remember the one time our one female coworker picked up the phone?
oh yes,
So I don't even
yes,
know. It was in the summer, so she's about like what 6 months working there.
probably
But
yeah. I said so.
she had like waitress experience and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like she's had experience. So she
yeah.
picks up the phone and she's talking to this lady, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna put you on pause real quick for a minute." Just hangs up the
Yeah, she goes.
phone.
I guess the lady was like trying to order over the phone, and my
Yeah.
coworker just goes, "Yeah, hang on 1 second," and just hangs up. And so we all start. It was me, Sparky, and two other female coworkers, and we've been
Yeah,
laughing.
we were just
And
dying
then,
laugh
and then like 5 minutes later, this lady walks in and she shows us her phone, and like the car is still going.
because she never actually hung
Yeah,
up properly.
yeah. It's like I've been on hold for like 5 minutes now, and then that was the end of it. I was gone,
Me and
and
Log left. We could not help.
yeah, it was so funny.
Oh, because we were talking about that last night with phone calls. Because there was a phone call last night, and I can't remember it, but then me and Mullet Man were talking about that phone.
Yeah, dude, that was hilarious.
And then this is actually going back to my high school. My one history teacher, he he used to be a farmer, but now he's like a history teacher, and like he hates groundhogs. Like hates. Like he will literally. There was a story. Our back in he was like the coach of the golf team, so
Right.
they were at the golf course the one time, and someone in my grade was driving with him, and he was the one like the kid in my grade was driving the golf cart.
Right.
They he sees a groundhog. The teacher takes the control of the wheel and starts driving after that groundhog. And he told us all these stories about him like smoking out groundhog holes and then shooting them.
Did I ever tell you the story about the one missionary from our church that I go to? His they were in like Africa or whatever, and he was being taken around by one of the locals, and he was driving, and this rattlesnake just jumped out in front of the road, and the guy that was the local was like, "Run over that snake!" And then so they ran over the snake because like they kill them over there because of the I guess the
Yeah.
harm that they could cause, and the guy's like, "Okay, now run over it again," and he's like. The guy's like, "Okay, now run over it again," and he's like, he must have ran over this snake like at least I don't know, like 5 times at least when he was telling the story at our church. I was just dying.
You gotta make sure it's dead.
Yeah.
Well, and you have other funny experiences with animals yourself, right? In your house?
Oh, yeah. That we got a couple stories. Which one you want to go back the farthest or the most recent?
I would say go most recent.
All right, so we in my house we kept hearing these noises in the ceiling. My mom thought it was a mouse. It sounded like scratching. I thought it was a mouse too. So one day it's just scratching, right? And my mom, it must have been pissing my mom off. So she starts knocking on the ceiling. And she puts like a little dent in the ceiling and then a little hole. And I was like, uh-oh, that thing's coming through. So my dad was at work, so we were just gonna let it for him. So we put like this plastic lid up. And so I went to work then, and my dad must have stopped to get like some mouse traps and stuff,
Hmm.
and he's gonna put a hole in the ceiling and flush this mouse out. Well, I'm at work, right? And my dad comes in later, or somebody comes in later, and he's like, it wasn't a mouse. I was like, what do you mean it wasn't a mouse? He was like, it was bees. I was like, bees in our ceiling? What? So what must have happened was my dad must have put a hole in the ceiling, and there was a beehive in there. So all of a sudden, bees just start darting out of this thing.
Dude, I could not. All those bees.
Oh, my
Like it's
dad was like, "Where did that lid go?" And so they put the lid back up, and we had to call the exterminator. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. I didn't know bees could like get in your house and make a hive like that.
I mean, I guess they must have had some sort of way to get in there.
Yeah,
Other than that, I would
yeah,
assume.
yeah.
But like I can handle like one or two bees. But if you get
Dude, it
you
was a
get like
whole
a whole
hive.
hive flying at
It was
me, I would
crazy.
be
It was crazy. I'm so glad I wasn't home. And then my brother's like deathly afraid of all bugs, like even ladybugs. So my brother like sat outside like for like 30 minutes and he's like, I'm not going in there. There's bees in there. We're infested. You wouldn't go inside. Oh man. Good times. And then we've also had this one time. Oh man, this is like at the beginning of the school year and my dad was at work again and it's like 7 in the morning, and all of a sudden I hear my mom scream at the top of her lungs, and I'm like, oh my god. And she comes running upstairs. She's like, "There's a bird in the basement." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So, um, I was like, "I don't want to deal with that." But it was 8 in the morning. My dad wasn't getting home for another like 7 hours,
yeah.
so it was time for me to become the man of the house.
What
Because my
about
brother, again,
he's definitely afraid of birds
he's
too.
definitely afraid of everything. But he wasn't going to do anything about it. And I was like, my mom's just going to sit at her desk all day and worry about this bird. So I need to do something about it. So we opened the door to the basement. We opened the windows. And I went down there with a flip flop.
Flip flop.
And I had to have some protection,
Yeah.
in case this thing came out, I was going to swat it.
But like you couldn't have picked something better? Like isn't a flip flop like really flimsy?
Well, I don't know. It was like I don't know. It was the first thing I grabbed. I wasn't really thinking this through, to be honest. So my mom's standing at the top of the steps holding up a blanket so that in case
Yeah.
it would turn around. Well, my mom's doing that, and I'm like standing at the top of the steps. I don't want to go down there, but my mom's like, "You got to go down there. It's not going to come up." I'm like, "All right, all right." So I go down there, and then all of a sudden I hear my mom scream again. She fell. She fell down. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, she had like a huge bruise on her leg. It was rough. But then finally, I got the bird out. It scared me like 5 times. I thought it was gonna come at me and start pecking me. Thankfully, that didn't happen. There was the one time we got a mole in our house.
A mole.
A
How do you
mole.
like I understand bees and I can maybe see I'm still don't know how the bird would get in there, but a mole?
I think the bird fell down our chimney.
Okay, that would make sense.
I think.
Did the
I don't
mole
know. It
fall
was a
down
big
the
bird, but
Did the mole fall down the
I don't know
chimney?
how this. Okay, so here's what we've come to the conclusion. This was like I was probably a junior in high school. So I left for school, and I maybe it was like we think it was trapped in our screen door, and like when I opened the door, it got in. So that's what we thought happened, but I really don't know how it got in. So after I left, my mom must have started seeing this thing like crawling around. She thought it was a mouse. So she's like, "I'm gonna trap this." I'm like, "How are you gonna trap a mouse?" So, because them things are quick,
Yeah.
and she gets like this bowl, and somehow she got it underneath the bowl. I was like, "Wow." So okay. So then she puts a 15-pound weight on top of that because she doesn't want it
Yeah.
to move the bowl, and I was like, "That's smart." So, there's no way this thing's getting out, but my mom decides she's gonna put another bin on top of that, and then another weight on top of that, and then
Security, man.
she decides she's gonna put another bin on top of that, and then she puts like this whole like footrest that's like 4 feet long and like 2 feet wide, pretty heavy, on top of the other bin. And then my mom sends me a picture of like this contraption that she built, and she's like, "Don't move this when you get home from school." I was like, okay. She's like, "I trapped a mouse underneath it." I was like, "Wow, you trapped a mouse? That's pretty impressive." And the funny part of that story is, again, my brother is sitting on the couch and he's eating breakfast, and he's like, "I'm not hungry anymore." So I get home from school, and I just leave it sit there. I'm not touching it. My dad gets home. He's like, "All right, we're gonna slide a piece of cardboard underneath the bowl, like that old
hmm
trick." And we did that, but the thing suffocated. So we throw it outside, and it was just a mole. It wasn't a mouse. It was crazy.
Interesting.
First time I've ever seen a mole.
I think I've seen one at a zoo, and I think I've only ever seen one other one in person, like
Yeah,
out, like in nature. And yeah, you don't see them often.
yeah.
But I guess we should go customer of the week. I can get this one this
All right.
time because so last night I was working open to close, and it was getting later in the night, and Mullet Man had to go once. So this guy comes in, he's just like, "What can I get you?" And I was just like, "A break." And then I just started laughing. I don't know why. I that guy amused me. Normally stuff like that doesn't
Yeah.
amuse me,
Well,
but
you're probably so tired,
yeah,
so.
it amused me that time. So he'll be the customer of the week for making my day a little bit better.